Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second episode of Pratham Voices from the Ground. I am not Medha Onyal. I am Nishant. I am the leader of technology innovations at Pratham. Unfortunately, in India, we are facing some weather issues, and it looks like I am going to be your host today. Very big thank to everyone who has been tuning in. Look forward to talk more about the government partnerships and how Pratham has been building the work that we have got going for us here. Comment and tell us where you're watching from, and we would look forward to hear more from you. I'm joining in from Chandigarh, and I have got my guests with me. Would like to welcome them. So we have Joginder Sharma. He's the state head of Himachal Pradesh, joining us from Shimla. We have got myself joining from Chandigarh. We have got Joginder Sharma. He is the executive director of Pratham Delhi, joining us from Delhi. And Medha, who is our host, is facing some challenges, but she may join us from Mumbai. Please do like, share, and subscribe the Pratham USA YouTube channel. We are only about 40 subscribers away from the 1,000 mark. And with your help, we are sure that we can get to the 1,000 subscribers by the end of this broadcast itself. A very quick introduction to Pratham. It's one of India's largest education NGOs, and we work in close collaboration with governments, communities, parents, teachers, volunteers, and focus on innovative interventions to address gaps in the education system. Due to the pandemic, schools have closed in India and are not likely to reopen for a while. Children and parents are at home. This presents a learning crisis. But Pratham is rising to the challenge, and we have been reaching over 12,000 communities across India through various interventions. Today, we'll try to talk about some of them. In addition, we have also partnered with 14 state governments and over 200 plus nonprofits, NGOs, to share and deliver our large and multi-language repository of enriching digital content. We are looking forward to hearing from our guests about how Pratham has pivoted in this new normal. Pratham USA has also launched its Responsive Innovation to Sustain Education, or RISE campaign, to sustain our work in India and to ensure we are continuing to deliver learning programs for children and youth who need it most. Request all of you to step up and support Pratham USA RISE campaign. Wonderful. So let's go ahead with our guest here, Shailendra. Shailendra, as I introduced, is the executive director of Pratham Delhi and heads a very large part of our program and is how we like to put it, on loan to the Delhi government. But Shailendra, please share with our audience what you do at Pratham and what's your journey with Pratham been like. And you have been in various roles and wear many hats at Pratham. What's that like?
Yeah, Nishant, that's true. I wear many hats. And let me share with you that I have this month I have turned 18 in Pratham. And for most part of that life, I used to wear just one hat. But for the last few years, I have been hearing, as you rightly said, many hats. But before that, let me very quickly share with you my journey, which I started many years ago in Pratham. And as soon as I joined, I was sent to one of the slums where Pratham was working at that point in time. Those of you who are familiar with the geography of Delhi would remember that there was a slum across River Yamuna. And we used to have a big program over there, particularly early childhood education program. And that was a place where my, induction in Pratham began. We used to have Balwadi program to get children in the early childhood education centers. We used to have program for children who were out of schools, because in those days, I'm talking about 2002, in those days, many children used to be out of schools. So we used to get them in a community-run classes, and from there take them to the nearest municipal schools and get them what we used to call mainstreaming. So putting them into the school was something that we were doing, and that is where the journey actually began. So once we took them to the schools, we would work very closely with the schools, talk to the teachers, persuade them that these children need to be functionally integrated in class, and that is how it used to go. And then if I were to fast forward, this also involved a lot of engagement with the school systems, talking to the teachers, conducting their trainings, and trying to reason that children's foundational learning skills are important, that they need to learn to read, write, and do basic arithmetic early on. And that was something which I have done for most part of the early years in Pratham, building partnership in the community, talking to parents, persuading them to send their children to schools, and coming across with innovative programs which would be interesting for children. They would and bringing them to the class, getting them into the schools. So that was something which I have done, and that being in Delhi, it also required a lot of interaction with government functionaries at that point, uh, showing them our methods, trying to persuade them, trying to help the teachers adopt those methods. So that has been some of the key work that I was doing. And then came year 2015, when I was like kind of seconded to the Delhi government, and that is where the multiplicity of hats actually came into being, because that was a new role for me. But as I said, I was born in 2002 in Pratham, was being raised for that occasion, to work very closely with the government school system. So I was inducted in the government with a formal role, to advise the Ministry of Education to launch large-scale reforms that Delhi government has undertaken over the last few years, and then also working across different layers of the government to ensure that those reforms actually reach the schools and the schools become better place for learning. So that has been my brief journey in Pratham, taking up multiple responsibilities, and working across communities and the government school systems. So these days, if I were to say, almost 90% of my time is dedicated to work with the Delhi government.
Wonderful. 18 years, Shailendra. I am certainly a toddler, having spent just 4.5 years in Pratham now. But great to hear about your journey of coming into Pratham and starting from there. And right now, we are really proud of the work that you are doing with the Delhi government as well. But let's look at these photos that you shared with us and see some of these memories that you have gathered during your time at Pratham. Can we have the photos that Shailendra has shared with us? So, Shailendra, would you want to talk about some of these?
So this photo on the left side of the screen is with a child in a government school. Uh, Pratham supported Delhi government in one of its ambitious program called Mission Bunyad, where the focus was to get every child from grade 3 to grade 8 learn to read, write, and do basic maths. This is the photograph of one of the school where I went to visit when we launched, and I was talking to this kid who could not read at that point in time, and over the period of time, this child learned to read. And the photograph on the right hand side is of a press conference which I had participated in along with the Deputy Chief Minister and Education Minister of Delhi, where we were discussing about the board results that year. And Delhi Government School had performed very well, and they have like it was the best performance over the last 21 years. So that was something that we were talking about. So that is part of my current role in the government.
So talking about the government, Shailendra, why do you think these government partnerships are important, and what role do they play in the context of India? And especially from Pratham's side, what has been the strategy, the success, the challenges in all the work that you have done with Delhi government until now?
So Nishant, if I were to see the way Pratham is modeled, uh, we have right from the inception given a lot of importance to the partnership, because the task that we are engaged with is not possible to attain unless we strike partnership with the governments. The numbers are huge, the numbers are big, so we have to have partnership uh, with the government. And one of the things that this partnership actually does is that we from the field bring a fresh perspective and idea, and also solutions that the governments can adopt. So that is why you would see that we have partnership across. Right now, we have partnership in 14 states, but of all the states that Pratham has been working, at some point in time, we do have those partnerships. And the way to go has always been that we build capacity at the field level, we create models, and when we are ready, or when the government is receptive to take those ideas forward, we take them to the school system and try to help the system amplify that, because that is one big way in which we can really impact learning at a larger scale. So that is why these partnerships are very critical, very crucial. But let me also add that not all partnership, when we talk about partnership, the nature and component of all those partnership is not like uniform. We have, when we are working with the government, we have to kind of say work across different layers and try to really find out what is needed in that situation, what is acceptable in that situation, and what we can do in those situations. So that is something that we try to do through those partnerships.
Wonderful, and I completely agree to your point that to get to the impact or the scale of impact that we talk about, and especially the motto that we live up to, every child learning well, partnering with the government is definitely important. But there are critics that talk about the lack of evaluation, that talk about the focus on inputs only. And what do you think is, as an insider, what do you think is the bottleneck? What role does organization like Pratham and the civil society play, and how can we add to the partnership?
So very interesting, Nishant, and I thank you for asking me this question. Uh, Let me take a step back. How often have we heard parents telling their kids, particularly in India, that hey, we are doing so much, and particularly this dialogue, at least I have heard many a time, probably you too might have, when the child shows the report card and the parents are not happy with that, many a time saying that, hey, we are doing so much for you, and this is what you are doing. Uh, and that's a dialogue that we have heard so many times. Now, take this dialogue to a school setting. And this I am sharing with you on the basis of the engagement that I have had with government functionaries over the last several years. And that is the kind of discussion that happens there also. Because the government thinks that we have built the schools, we have appointed the teachers, so we have done our bits. The teachers many often feel that we are completing the syllabus, we are teaching, we are doing our bit. So at so lot of time what I have seen is that the fault then goes to the doorstep of the child, that everybody else has done so many things, but here is this child who is not what you say responding. uh, Seldom that we actually look back and reflect that is there something that we are missing out, is there something that we could have we could have done differently, and the blame should not be on the child. So that is why when we do these assessments and come across and say, see, if almost 50% children in your class cannot read, then naturally there is something missing in those input, which is not translating into the outcome that you would want to visualize. So you cannot like simply blame others. We need to also reflect back. But I would also say that this is the biggest challenge, because everybody most often are convinced that they are doing what they are supposed to do and they are doing their bit. And if something is not happening, some desired result is not coming, it is not for them to do anything differently. And that is the mindset that we have to change. That is the biggest challenge that I see. And therefore, through these partnerships, when we work very closely with the school system, with the school teachers, we try to show them that here is a way, here is a route that you can get a better result. So if the child is not reading, there are certain things that can be done, and this child can do that, can learn. And when the teachers themselves see that there is a change in the child whom they have given up, I think that is when the big buy-in happens. So I think these partnerships are very critical in multiple ways, and that is what Pratham has attempted to do over the years with so many states. But I would also say that we are confronted with this culture where the blame starts right from Macaulay and lands up to the school principal at that point in time. So therefore, we have to work very closely, and we work very closely with the school teachers to convince them that there are some things that you can do at that point in time with the child, and here is the method for that. So that alternate needs to be presented, and we attempt to do that.
Brilliantly put, Shailendra. So we need to work with this ecosystem and bring in the change in mindset. And you can actually help, all of you who have tuned in from all over the world. You can help us make that impact. We need your support today so that we can continue our work. And you have to go to prathamusa.org/rise campaign and support the work that we are doing across India. Especially right now, you can actually double your impact thanks to Himakshi and Manish Desai from Dallas, who have generously offered to support our RISE initiative and will be matching donations made today. Make a one-time or monthly donation at prathamusa.org/give. And the link is up here on the screen. You can find it on our website and various social media handles. And all the support that we can get would help us in, as Shailendra put it, changing the mindset. So Shailendra, moving ahead from what we are supposed to do or what we have been trying to do, the times are now really changing, and the pandemic and the new normal, as we have been calling it, is actually asking a lot from everyone. But in this new normal, how has our partnership evolved, and how are the teams that have been partnering with the government and supporting it, how have they evolved?
So speaking about Delhi again, I would say that this decision to close the school and impose the lockdown was a very sudden. No system was prepared for that. And very quickly, when Delhi government decided to launch a remote engagement program through parents, Pratham came forward. And so this program that I talked about, the picture that you saw of Mission Bunyad, the plan this year of the government was that in the first quarter of the academic year, the focus would exclusively be on building the foundational learning skills of the child. Because as I said, over the last few years, working very closely with the teachers, we have been able to convince them that is needed. And if you put focus for next few months, we would be able to get every child to read fluently and do basic mathematics operations. And that's so critical in actually getting the child ready to follow the grade level curriculum. So the government was ready for that, but then came the lockdown. So what we did quickly was to convert the entire approach into, say, working with the parents. And what we did was the the method was created by which every day a short story or certain activity would be sent through IVR or SMS to the parents, who would then hear that and do those activities with their children. And the teachers in the schools were following up with the parents, that whether they received the activities and they are doing it. So actually, in within few what you say days, a good partnership, in fact, a new form of partnership emerged, where the content that was created by Pratham team was taken by the government, and using their own system and method, sending it to the parents every day. So I would say that every day, nearly 500,000 parents in the Delhi government schools were receiving those messages. They were giving a missed call, and then the interactive voice would play out those messages to the parents, and those parents will do those activities, and in the evening would give feedback to the teachers. So that was the strength of this partnership, that despite the lockdown and despite the fact that nobody was prepared for that, we were able to achieve that. And this, we had like 50 continuous days when these messages were sent, and children received those, got those inputs, and with the help of their parents, they were able to do those activities.
Amazing. So brilliantly explained there that it's not just about the memorandum of understanding MOU that we sign with the government, but walking every step with them, even with changing times, making sure that we help them as and when the situations change. I actually have a question that I am really interested to understand here, Shailendra. You talked about IVR, interactive voice response systems. And in this day and age, everyone feels like there are smartphones, there is internet, there is digital content. Can you explain why the government and why we went for IVR systems?
Well, that's a very important point to remember here, that most of the parents who uh, send their children to the government school did not have a smartphone. So we did this quick assessment. The class teachers of the government school sent out, did the quick check, and they came up and found that less than 50% children have access to smartphone at home. So as a result, it was very, so if we were to rely upon that technology, we would be excluding so many children out from the approach that we were to take. So as a result, we had to go back to the old technology, and make sure that because of this divide, a lot of children should not be deprived of the learning opportunity that is being created. So as a result, we had to go back to the IVR method. And also we were mindful of this fact that probably if we are sending SMS, there's a shortage, because again in the smartphone, if you have a longish message, that will not be delivered as a one message. So the result, IVR was chosen because in 1 minute or say 50 seconds, you can tell the story briefly and give instruction as to what needs to be done. And that is what then we had to take, because that was a immediate response that we had to introduce in the system.
Great. That answers my question, and also re-emphasizes the focus on every child learning well, and reaching every child is definitely important. I'm quite happy right now, actually, that I am the director of technology innovations and not the director of digital innovations, because I didn't imagine that there would be a time that we would be talking about technology which is not digital. But moving on from that, Shailendra, why don't you highlight to us that why should people who are watching us right now, why should they support Pratham? What do you think is in it for them?
Well, if you support Pratham, you will get to hear many voices from the field. So that's one incentive. But then building upon this part, I would say that my own learning over the last 18 years in Pratham uh, has taught me that what we do at Pratham is actually to get to the root of the things. So many things which the large system, particularly the government system, which has its own inertia, uh, tends to overlook, or probably do not get to figure out that it is important to, Pratham brings that. So, for example, this issue of children being in school and not learning. I mean, this is something which, on the strength of our work, at the grassroots level, we have been able to highlight that, and also presenting a solution which can be adopted, because we realize that the child, if this child does not learn to read and does not acquire foundational learning skills in the early years of his or her life, there's very little chance that this child will proceed further in the education system, because the entire pedagogy, the curriculum, and the processes are so text dependent. So that is the key skill that the child needs to acquire early on, and we at Pratham have actually built that and have been able to share with the systems to adopt that. And having said that, and having seen the events turning in the last 2-3 months ever since this lockdown and pandemic, what I see is that there's going to be a new challenge. Nishant, you spoke about technology and digital, but what I saw was also a huge possibility of emerging digital divide. We were all aware of that, but we did not uh, think that it is going to come to us so soon. So it is going to be a new divide which is likely to emerge in times to come, because a lot of people would be tempted to use internet enabled and device enabled method, and in that process it is possible that many more children would not be able to access that. And having had the track record, our track record of actually looking at the last child, because we believe that every child deserves to get good quality education, we would have to look forward and get new solutions, so that new kind of denial of access do not happen in the school system. So that is why it becomes very important that we keep working, we keep finding new solutions, we keep responding to the new challenges that comes our way, and making sure that every child gets an opportunity to learn. And that is the reason I would give why Pratham should be supported.
Thanks, Shailendra. Really solid reasons to support Pratham. But at this point, I would actually like to bring in the people who are watching us, and let's take a look at where all have people joined in from across India, across the US, across the world, actually. So why don't you go ahead and type the location that you're joining from, and we would love to know where all are we reaching out to. And also at this note, let's see a few comments from our audience and see if we have any questions or any suggestions that we can answer. Okay, I encourage everyone to go ahead and type in a few questions that we would be happy to answer as this broadcast goes ahead. But don't forget, as Shailendra highlighted, don't forget to support Pratham. Go to prathamusa.org/rise. You can donate, and your donation would be matched with generous contribution from Himakshi and Manish Desai from Dallas, and who have offered to support the RISE initiative. Come forward, support it. And also, everyone who's watching us, don't forget to subscribe, because we are almost there to 1,000 subscribers. Would be a great thing to make sure that we have a wider reach. Follow us on our social media handles. You can see them on the screen right now. Now, moving on from Delhi, we would actually try and see if we can get Joginder, our state head from Himachal, on the stream so that we can see what we are doing in the hill state of Himachal. Looks like the weather in the hill state of Himachal is not allowing Joginder to join us. But let me give a very brief update on what we have been doing in Himachal. So Himachal is a very special state for us. We have been working with the government for the past 4 or 5 years. And what we have been doing is working step by step, as Shailendra highlighted, with the education department for basic numeracy and literacy, the pre-primary, 2 years back, the pre-primary movement in Himachal Pradesh started, and Pratham has been spearheading it with the government. Joginder, our state head, if he would have joined, he would have talked about how we went about creating not just change in the system, but a societal change as well, where Pratham staff members went to villages, created communication material, and encouraged parents to send their children to preschool, because that is the first step of building the foundation skills that we keep highlighting there is a lack of. So in Himachal, over the years, we have a very strong team there working with the state education department, and recently, after the pandemic, we have been sending out a lot of our learning material to the state, and the state government had set up a channel in coordination with us to take this digital learning content to the last child. Fortunately, as a state, Himachal has got great internet and smartphone penetration, and we were able to send some of our rhymes and stories and early childhood focused content to the children, and we got tremendous response. We actually have a video of that here with us, and we would love to play that video if we can get that on right now.
हरे नीम की डाल पर 3 तोते थे, वो तीनों सोते थे, वो तीनों सोते थे। एक पटाखा फूटा जैसे कोई बर्तन टूटा, डर गए तीनों तोते, डर गए तीनों तोते। डाल को अपनी छोड़ छाड़ कर उड़ गए तीनों तोते, उड़ गए तीनों तोते। पहला तोता फुर, दूसरा तोता फुर फुर, तीसरा तोता फुर फुर फुर।
हरे नीम की डाल पर 3 तोते थे, वो तीनों सोते थे। जैसे एक पटाखा फूटा, जैसे कोई बर्तन टूटा, डर गए तीनों तोते, डर गए तीनों तोते। डाल को अपनी शोर छाड़ के उड़ गए तीनों तोते, उड़ गए तीनों तोते। एक तोता फुर, दूसरा तोता फुर फुर, तीसरा तोता फुर फुर फुर।
Amazing. Every time I watch this, I can't stop smiling. And I'm sure there's a smile on everyone who is watching us right now. Let's try and bring Joginder back in and talk about. Wonderful, Joginder. Great to have you here. Why don't you tell us a bit about the Samay 10 se 12 wala Har Ghar Bane Pathshala, or the time from 10 to 12, every home becomes a school.
Yes. Thank you, Nishant. Since mid-March, the movement has not been possible due to the restrictions that you know very well. Definitely, it was an unprecedented situation. As in the normal scenario, we visit schools, connect with the communities, and meet other stakeholders on a frequent basis. As you know, Pratham launched its nationwide campaign Corona Masti Aur Padhai as a response to this situation, and we were in a continuous dialogue with the government for any collaboration on this front. So the government came up with the program Samay 10 se 12 wala Har Ghar Bane Pathshala, which means every home has to be a school between 10 to 12 in the morning, and parents to facilitate these activities with children, which are delivered to them by the teachers on daily basis through WhatsApp and SMSs. As requested by the government, we are extending our support to the program in mapping our content to the grade and school curriculum, setting up content delivery mechanism, and tracking the effectiveness of the program. We are very happy that we are reaching to 5 lakhs kids of 15,000 schools through this program.
Wonderful. And Joginder, now that we have you with us, would actually love to hear about your story with Pratham. How did you join in? How has been the journey with Pratham like? And you have been in various roles yourself. Tell us what the journey has been like.
Yes. Nishant, I have been associated with Pratham since 2007. and have, as you said very well, have worked on different profiles. Initially, I worked at the field level as a block resource coordinator, and later as a language resource person at the state level for at least 4 years. Since 2012, I have been looking after the Pratham operations in Himachal Pradesh, uh, uh, and, uh, and Pratham has given me immense opportunity to connect with school communities, government officers, teachers, and even policymakers. We have been able to evolve different kind of programs, right from early years to age 14, that have been benefited students across the state, I must say. The experience of being a part of this learning process gives me a sense of fulfillment.
Wonderful. And Joginder, I must say that Pratham is really fortunate to have you as one of our leaders. Let's look at some of the photos that you shared with us, Joginder, and would love to hear your memories through these photos that you had shared earlier with us.
Yes. Uh, these photos bring some wonderful memories. These are from I think 2013 and are related to ASA survey, which is acts as a tool to measure learning status of children across the nation, uh, and also international level, as of now. The first photo is from my field survey with ASAR, in which I got the opportunity to judge the learning level of children in a particular village with a volunteer. The second photo is from the launch of a state chapter of ASA report by the then Chief Minister of Himachal Pradesh in the same year. So I could very well recollect that Chief Minister had taken various actions for improving the learning crisis, that uh, uh, based on the same report. Yes.
Tremendous. And it's wonderful to see the scope of work that you have right from being on the field. You described how you joined as a block resource person, you worked as a language expert, and after gaining all that wealth of knowledge, you are now leading the state and actually working with the policymakers to make sure that the change that we are gunning for actually happens. Great to hear these memories from you, Joginder. And one question that I would want to actually put right now is about the partnership. And why do you think this partnership is important in India to Pratham, to the children, and to the communities?
Okay. I'll try to answer your question, Nishant. We can see that Pratham programs are generally low cost and scalable, and we can also see a large and visible impact when our programs are implemented in collaboration. So the issue of living the issue of learning gap is a dominant factor, and can be addressed when our strategies is adopted by others. If we take the example of Himachal Pradesh, the reach to a large number of children can only be established when we partner with government, and it adopts our program strategies. In Himachal Pradesh, we have adopted the approach for creating model blocks and model districts, and demonstrating the same to the state, which they bring to the larger scale.
Great. And your work has been having tremendous impact. And I think the ASER study that we have been doing since 2005, we have been seeing tremendous impact on the learning levels in Himachal Pradesh. And it has been one of the exemplar states for us, and as an example in the country itself, that when the policy makers and organizations like Pratham come together and there is strong methodology that is put into learning, the change can really happen. Would request everyone who is watching right now to make sure to support Pratham and support the work that we are doing. On that note, Joginder, why don't you tell the people who are watching us, why should they support Pratham?
Yes. Okay. Nishant, as far as foundation learning is concerned, learning deficit still exists in India, and reports like ASSER, as we mentioned earlier, and other reports confirm this fact. Pratham has low cost and scalable learning solutions, which is need of the hour. India is a vast country, and need of children and youth also vary. Uh, Being a young country full of youth, the demand for creating a skilled force is rising, and we are catering to the needs of the group through our vocational programs too. More we need to work more, but much still needs to done on education front, and any support will take us uh, uh, to take this mission forward in a credible manner. In the current situation of COVID crisis, we are still able to uh, 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 connect to the children and youth through digital means with the same energy. So I think we the support that we require should be continued with the same energy.
Thanks for the tremendous pitch, Joginder. I'm sure that your energy is contagious and it will definitely reach to all the viewers that we have here with us. Going ahead, I would actually want to talk about the depth of experience that you can see. So we had a conversation with Shailendra, we had a conversation with Joginder. Shailendra has been with us, as he said, he has turned adult at Pratham 18 years, and Joginder, as he highlighted, has been with us since 2007. Now, what this does is the journeys that the people at Pratham have had, that really impacts and that really shapes the work that we do. The philosophy of every child, reaching to the last child, as Shailendra said, it comes from the experiences that we have had. It comes from the vast amount of work that we are doing and the individual journeys that everyone at Pratham has had. And as I said earlier, being a toddler at Pratham, always feel humbled by the enormity of experience and wealth of knowledge that I am getting to learn from at Pratham. And would request everyone to make sure that we can go further and impact further with the work that we are doing. And your support will go a long way in doing that. One of the key things that I would want to talk about here is during this pandemic, we had to halt the regular operations that we had at Pratham. And from March 15th, all the work that Pratham did on field was came to a halt. We were preparing for it a few days before itself. And in fact, before the nationwide lockdown on March 24th, by March 15th, we were already in pretty much lockdown mode in Pratham. And we started coming up with strategies on how to ensure that learning happens and continues to happen. For that, the experience that I was talking about came in handy, and we did not go for easy solutions of sending apps and digital content and just making sure that whatever we have in terms of technology reaches just the upper echelon, but also reaches to the last mile of the society. And for that, we went with not just one approach. As Shailendra highlighted, we went with IVR in Delhi. And as Joginder highlighted, that we went with messages, digital content being sent out through WhatsApp groups that the government was operating in Himachal. We partnered with 14 state governments. And if we can have the map up, you will see the kind of scope that Pratham has across India. These 14 states, we actually catered and tailored the solutions that we have, not just to the needs of the government and the thoughts of the policymakers there, but also to the realities of the ground. The tremendous amount of data and insights that ASSER has generated over years, we know exactly what are the states where what kind of technology presence and penetration exists. If I talk about the government sources, the TRAI data, which is the Telecom Regulatory Authority of Government of India, puts the national average of smartphone penetration at somewhere around 55 smartphones for every 100 people in rural India, whereas in urban India, it's at about 120 smartphones for every 100 people or 100 of the population. What that clearly highlights is that banking on one form of technology would not help. And in each of these states, we went with various modes, right from IVR to WhatsApp and digital content, uploading on the digital platforms that the government came up with. Not stopping at that, we went back into the wealth of experience that I say Pratham has and dug back from 89 and 90 when Pratham used to do, our co-founder Madhav Chavan used to run these radio programs and television programs. And we started doing radio and television shows and designed those so that the governments can use it as well. So it was a multi-channel approach, making sure that we reach the last mile. But rather than it being a broadcast, it was very important that we ensure there is a two-way communication. Another thing that Pratham is known for is its research. And in our research, we very clearly know that along with the inputs, which are around the learning content, the books, and everything else, it is very important to talk to the children, to communicate with them and establish a relation with them. So even if we were broadcasting a radio program, we made sure that there was someone giving a phone call and trying to talk to the parents or the children about the learning activity. If we were sending SMS messages, which I must tell you was quite an experience to design, to try and fit all the learning that we wanted to give out in 67 characters, because Indian languages, SMS in Indian languages, the length can only be 67 characters. So all of this was a great learning experience. Right from March 15, we switched very quickly, and by March 30th, we had already started rolling out our digital content over WhatsApp. We had started working with the governments on what we had, but we made sure always that there is a two-way communication. And on that note, I would actually like to show a video here of something we are doing in Maharashtra, where we have a program with the government where we are using the radio, but along with that, we have a network of volunteers that are making sure that this two-way communication continues to happen. So please enjoy the Maharashtra video.
या लॉकडाऊनच्या काळात शाळा अंगणवाडी बंद आहेत आणि मुलं पूर्ण वेळ घरी आहे, पण थोडा तरी अभ्यास व्हायलाच हवा ना. म्हणूनच शाळेबाहेरची शाळा या विशेष कार्यक्रमामध्ये मी RJ रेश्मा आपल्या सगळ्यांचं स्वागत करते.
It always moves me to see how the community stepped up and said that we'll use the loudspeaker in the temple to make sure that that even those who do not have radio can listen to the radio program. And we need your support today so that we can continue our work. And you can especially double your impact thanks to the generous donation from Himakshi and Manish Desai from Dallas, who have offered to support our RISE initiative and will be matching the donations made today. You can make a one-time or a monthly donation at prathamusa.org/give. And we would also encourage you to spread the word about the campaign with the hashtag Rise for Pratham. Spread the word to your friends, family members, everyone that you know, to support Pratham and talk about the tremendous work that we are trying to do here. On that note, I would actually like to see if we can read a few comments that have been coming in on various social media handles that we have, and see if there are some questions that people would like to know the answers for. So Atul Bhide, he says radio, SMS, IVR, WhatsApp, webinars, and finally actual online training through Zoom. Super, more power to Pratham. And more power to you, Atul. Keep spreading the word. We have Dinesh Sharma. How you see learning continuum in this pandemic period? Good question, actually. And rather than answering it myself, I would actually like our expert, Shailendra, to step in and answer, how do we see learning? What learning outcomes do we think are important right now, especially in this pandemic period?
So it's this situation itself is a big arena for new learning for all of us. So as a result, schools, parents, teachers, everybody had to quickly put on their thinking hat and get on to it. So what we, as I explained in Delhi, did was to make parents the real teacher at home and support them through this IVR message, so that they can engage with the children and get on with the learning. I mean, of course, this was also an opportunity for everyone to look at that learning is not something which happens only inside the classrooms and with the textbooks. There are so many things to learn from, so many material available at home, and with so many limited resources. Still, if you put your thinking hat, you are able to do that. And what it actually requires is the support from organizations like us who can come forward and provide those inputs which parents can use, and get on with that. And that is something which we would continue to do in times to come, because we know that there is going to be a new normal even once the pandemic gets over. There are different challenges that would emerge, and we would have to be ready for that and define what we need, what our children need at this point in time, what they need to learn, and how can we support that. So learning will go on.
Wonderful. And we have another question from Henry J. Does digital platform provide high quality learning?
So Nishant, I guess you are the right person to respond to that.
I would say that, Shailendra, the platform itself is not the answer. So the definition of high quality learning is actually driven by the experience that the child is getting. Despite having access to digital platforms or having access to a really great classroom, what matters is the experience that the child is exposed to, and through these experiences learning happens. And I think that is definitely out there in the research. So if the digital platforms can create the best of the experiences, or deliver the best experiences, probably it would lead to high quality learning, but it definitely needs good two-way communication, as we already established. So another comment from Satyajit. Sorry, Shailendra, go ahead.
And I would like to add to what you said, like, this time has been a great learning opportunity for us also. And the conversation that I have been having with teachers, with parents also in this time, also very clearly comes across. It tells us that what is it that what kind of learning we can have using, say, digital platforms, and what kind of learning would be required for children in a space like a school. So in times to come, probably we will have to think how these two complement each other. There's no digital platform is not a complete solution. It can complement the overall learning that the child should acquire during the schooling years. So I think we'll have to see that issue of learning from that prism as well.
Great. There's a question from our veteran Prem Yadav. Do you think tech-based education take front seat in coming days? Please comment on behavior changes as well. Shailendra, would you want to take some of it?
So yes, I mean, I don't know about front seat, but definitely a seat in the whole education discourse. It would definitely. But as I said, it has to complement the whole gamut of learning. It is not going to be the solution for all kinds of learning.
True. And just 2 cents from my side, I believe that tech-based education will definitely take a seat, as Shailendra said. But tech has always been in education in some form or the other. When the tech was not smartphones and digital, when the tech was radio and television and videos played on VCRs, if some of us remember what they were, that played a role in education as well. But over and over again, it's important to stress that let's not try to worry too much about the spanner, about the tool. Let's worry about the nuts that we have to, or the bolts that we have to unlock, and that would be the way to go about. On the behavior changes, I would actually like to highlight that this period for children has been of tremendous learning. Children have been going through various kinds of stress, and learning does not only happen about, is not only about the curriculum. What they are seeing and experiencing, and I think this kind of massive communication exercise around health and hygiene has never happened. And I'm sure that every child from here on would have a better sense of health and hygiene than anyone had before. So learning is definitely happening. There is a lot of stress that the children are going through. And when they come back, this is something that our CEO, Dr. Rukmini Banerjee, keeps talking about, that when the children come back, it should be a welcome ceremony for them when they come back to school. We should make sure that they catch up, that the learning that they had, they have not lost that. We should make sure that there are no gaps, because these learning gaps lead to dropouts going ahead. So it should be a celebration, and in her words, we should make sure that we ask them, what have you learned in this period, rather than just telling them that, do you know what I'm going to ask you? So let's move to another question that is coming from Vinita. How can other governments in India learn from the Delhi government example? And I'm sure, Shailendra, others already are.
So I can't be talking about on behalf of other governments. Well, that's an important thing, and the solution, Vinita, is the kind of approach that we have followed over these years. So and learning in all sphere, whether it's a learning of the government or learning of a child, follows similar trajectory. It has to be a two-way process. So from our side, we can come forward and offer what we have, but the two steps has to be taken by the government also. In case of Delhi, we saw that political will, and therefore we were able to strike a very unique kind of partnership, which is like a dream. Similarly, what we are also seeing is that a lot of interest from the governments, different governments, to actually pick up things from Delhi, learn from Delhi's example, and try to implement in their own context. But I don't think we have a very straight answer to that. But we have definitely seen desire and willingness on the part of many state governments to come forward and try out something new, try to find new solutions. So I think we will be having exciting times going ahead.
Great. And on that note about other governments, let's try and move to another video that we have from Bihar, where we have been helping out the state government with content made for TV, and it's streaming across the government channel, Doordarshan. And there are, I must tell you, there are wonderful children going through the experience of learning in a way that we have seen before, but in a totally new avatar. Let's take a look at the video.
क्या एक बार और सुने? Chill. Chill. Chill.
पहाड़ नदी और पेड़ देखकर
4, 5, 6, 7, 8।
काम कर रही हूँ। और वो देखिए काका तो कुर्सी पर बैठे बैठे ही सो गए। मैं तो तुम्हारी बातें सुन रहा था। अच्छा तो फिर बताओ हम क्या बातें कर रहे थे।
And on that note, we come to an end to this really encouraging and interesting session about how Pratham is taking learning forward during these times in partnership with governments, with other non-profits, and broadly the ecosystem. Encourage all of you to come out and support, because we need your support today so that we can continue our work. You can double your impact, as I highlighted time and again, thanks to Himakshi and Manish Desai from Dallas, who have generously offered to support our RISE initiative and will be matching donations made today. So make sure you go to prathamusa.org/give. And please also spread the word about the campaign with the hashtag Rise for Pratham. Get as many people to support as you can. And don't forget to follow our social media handles to watch many more such interesting videos of children coming your way. Thank you all so much for watching today and for supporting us. And thanks to our guests, Joginder, Shailendra, and to our host, Medha. Stay safe and healthy. Everyone, we look forward to seeing you again soon with more Pratham Voices from the ground. Thanks so much and stay safe.
Thank you.